Hello everyone, my name is Austin Pennington and today I will present my Human Resources Trainer informational interview. For my informational interview, I chose to interview a behavioral health specialist in the Army National Guard. This person is a full-time employee at the National Guard and they are primarily responsible for developing and implementing programs that relate to the mental health of members of the organization. During the interview, I learned that the primary goal of this behavioral health specialist was to reduce suicides in the organization. And as a result, a large portion of resources are dedicated to suicide prevention. National Guard members and members of the military in general are more likely to commit suicide when compared to their civilian peers. And as a result, behavioral health specialists are tasked with providing the tools and resources for soldiers to not only help themselves, but also pick up on the warning signs of others. In addition to suicide prevention, these specialists also develop training to prepare service members for the return to civilian life following deployment. This also ties into suicide prevention, but also includes job placement programs and resources for those with families. ACE is one such program developed by a behavioral health specialist and is used for suicide prevention. ACE is a mandatory training program and has had success in reducing the prevalence of suicide since its inception in 2009. Behavioral health specialists realized that the numbers were too few to train and supervise everyone, so they developed a program that increases accountability amongst soldiers. ACE is an acronym which stands for ASK. Ask if a person is thinking about suicide. It is important to be blunt to show that you're taking the issue seriously. Care. Actively listen and control the situation by removing means of self-harm. And escort. Escort the chaplain, behavioral health specialist, or primary care physician. During the interview, I learned that the biggest issue with these programs are their limitations. Because there are so few behavioral health specialists, most training is not conducted by those who actually design a program, but is instead taught by individuals at the unit level. This can lead to a check-the-box mentality, where units rush through the training because they don't recognize the importance, and only complete the training because it's mandatory. Most units do not perceive to suffer from behavioral health issues, so it is easily overlooked for more important training. While not necessarily affecting suicide prevention due to its universal importance, this is more prevalent in other programs. For example, an all-male infantry unit is likely to view sexual harassment training as trivial, despite the fact that these men will interact with females in training and in their daily lives. I believe that the best way to drive home the importance of a training is to make use of a keynote speaker. By having a speaker that has suffered through suicidal thoughts or was a victim of sexual harassment or anything else relating to the training, the class will have a better understanding that the issue is real. It is also important for leaders to use a check on learning to ensure that the target audience has learned from the material. This could be as simple as a multiple choice test. In addition to in-person training, online training could also be used to preserve the precious training time units have at drill. Clearly, it is in everyone's interest, top to bottom, to address behavioral health concerns. Leaders benefit when subordinates are able to focus on the task at hand, and the organization as a whole benefits from a happier, more stable workforce. What I found to be most interesting throughout this interview process was the different training theory used by this public organization when compared to private business. The programs described by the interviewee are much more people-oriented than those in private enterprise, and because they are a federal organization with a large budget and no stakeholders looking for a monetary return on investment, public organizations are able to be more experimental and flexible with their training programs.